Okay, so today we are going to be looking back at some of my old favorite books. I have been on YouTube for 4.5 years now, and in that time, I have given you a end of the year, best books of the year, my favorite books that I read this year summary. What I like is different now from what it was then. So we're gonna go back. Well, you're not gonna go back. Those videos are privated. Well, several of them are. I went back and collected my favorite books from the year, well, most of my favorite books from the years of 2016, 17, 18, and 19, put them all in a tier list, and we are going to, we're gonna rank them. So I don't have these split up by year. It's starting out with 2016, moving on to 17, 18, and 19, but I don't know where one year stops and the next year starts. They just kind of bleed into each other. So sorry, but old favorites to recent favorites. Let's talk about if they hold up and how I feel about them nowadays. Okay, so we have, as categories, we have still a favorite, still great. I'm not embarrassed that I used to love this much. I am embarrassed that I used to love this much. And why, Murph? Why? And we're going to start with I Love You More. So thriller is a genre that I very much enjoy, but I really don't read a ton. I Love You More was one of my very first thrillers, and I really liked it. It was my intro into, wow, this is a genre that I love, even though I don't read it constantly. I Love You More. I remember I predicted the ending. I didn't find it very surprising, but I was just really excited for the ride. So I don't know if I would still call it great, but I actually remember quite a bit about it. So I'm just gonna say I'm not embarrassed about this. This was a great intro into thrillers. I still have it on my shelves, I think. Cinder. So the Lunar Chronicles used to be one of my favorite series, and I still look back on it fondly. I've since passed on my copies of the Lunar Chronicles to my niece, and she loves them. And you know, if I reread the Lunar Chronicles, I don't know that I would still love them, but I think I would still like them in a nostalgic way, because I do think that they're good books. I really don't have anything negative to say about them. It's just they're not really the type of books I read anymore. So I think I'm gonna put, I don't know. I think I'm gonna put it in not embarrassed, leaning towards still great. I don't know that I would still call them great, but I am going to pass them on to my kids once my niece is done with them. If she gives them back to me, I'm going to give them to my kids so that they can read them, because I think that they're solid books. The Hunger Games, honestly, I still really enjoy The Hunger Games. They're not a favorite series of mine. Maybe a lot of nostalgia is wrapped up in them. The Hunger Games is a duology, by the way. There is no third book. But I don't know, I still really like them. Vampire Academy. Why, Murph, why? Okay. I never did finish the series. There's only 6 books. I never finished them. They're not even long books. But I know that after book 3, they really started to go downhill for my enjoyment, and I ended up just giving up. But I do remember quite a few things about Vampire Academy, because I was really into them for a bit. And some of the things in those books that I enjoyed, I look back and I think, why would this be in this book? Targeted towards teens. Weird choice, man. Mini rant time. Skip to here if you don't want it. All I'm gonna say is, y'all know I don't like power imbalances, unhealthy relationships, I don't know, pedophilia. Weird thing to have a stance on. Anyway, our main character, I don't remember how old she is. Her love interest is, I think, 27, if I'm remembering correctly. He's her teacher, or not conventional teacher. He's like her trainer, assigned by the school. He's her teacher for all intents and purposes. They end up getting together, and it's not cool. But also, even the first time that I don't want to get demonetized again, the first time that they are together is also in a really weird situation, because she's just experienced some massive, huge trauma, and she's like grieving hardcore, and then he's just like, now's probably the time. And then they're like on school grounds. I don't know. I look back at that and I'm just like, why is this in a teenager's book? Why are we putting teachers and kids getting together and painting it as romantic in a book for teens? Rant over. I will say I haven't read these books in many years, approximately 4 of them. But I maybe some of the smaller details are missing, but I do remember that. And even when I was reading them, I remember thinking, don't like this, but I still really liked the books, so I didn't worry about it. Now I'm worried. All right, A Shadow Bright and Burning. Whew. I definitely don't still love this book, but because I reread it recently because I remember loving it, and I did this series for like 2 minutes where I was rereading old favorites. I reread it. I think I gave it 3 stars. So I'm not embarrassed about using that. I used to like it. I think it was still fine. It's just not really my style anymore. Kiss of Deception. Okay, so the Remnant Chronicles is a series that I still love. I haven't reread it recently, but I loved it for so long, and so many people have read it on my recommendation and not liked it. So I don't know, man. Maybe I have bad taste, but I still have so many good memories about this trilogy, and it's still great. Hunted is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I really loved it when I read it. I did reread it like a year or 2 ago, and I didn't love it as much, but I still think it's solid. I'm gonna go with not embarrassed because I don't know that I would still call it great. But again, pass this one on to my niece, and she loved it. It's wonderful. Now we're at Obsidian, and I'm just gonna chuck it in the Y category real fast. I don't know what was wrong with me. Why did I like this book? It was so bad. It was basically a Twilight remake, and I hate Edward, and I even hated Edward the first time I read Twilight. I could see that he was abusive and manipulative and horrible, but then I read Obsidian, and Damon is Edward. He is abusive and manipulative and mean and horrible, and I was just like, I love this. I don't know. I am embarrassed. But I'm putting it in Y because it's a step further from embarrassed. It's what were you thinking? Finding Audrey. Okay. I don't know how I would feel about it now. I really did love it. It was basically my intro into hard-hitting contemporaries. And I don't know if I'd still call it great, but I guess I'll put it in not embarrassed because I don't know how I'd feel about it now, but I do remember loving it a lot. And it was like my gateway into one of my favorite genres. Legend, I'm not embarrassed about. I used to like that. It's not really my style anymore. Pass this trilogy on to my niece. She currently loves it. It's solid. I'm not embarrassed about Wait For Me either. That was, I think, my first historical fiction, or at least one of my first historical fictions. I remember not liking my main character at all, but I did really enjoy the story. So there you go. Dangerous Girls, again, we're talking about, I hadn't read very many thrillers. Again, I did predict the ending for Dangerous Girls. I knew where it was going. I knew how it would end up, but it was my first time experiencing an ending like that, and I liked it a whole lot. Since then, I've read several thrillers with the same basic plot line and the same reveal and the same ending, and I don't think that Dangerous Girls did it best, but I did really like reading it. I'm not embarrassed. Duel of Fire. Are we in... This must be 2017 or even maybe 18 by now. I'm gonna put... Ooh, is it still great? I think I'm gonna put it in still great. Duel of Fire is one of those series that isn't really... It's young adult fantasy, and it's not really the type of fantasy that I usually am drawn to, but I just really liked it. You know, it was really easy to latch onto. It was a really fun story, and it took a lot of typical YA fantasy tropes and did them a little bit different, and I really liked the differences in this. So, I don't know. I still love it. Luna, easily, still great. I love On Luna Time. I love this trilogy. Nightingale, still great. Historical fiction, not one of my genres that I reach for very often. Not one of my genres that I love very often, but The Nightingale was a great story. Red Seas Under Red Skies, my first still favorite. Oh wow, I guess I'm not gonna have anything in the I'm embarrassed category, because now we just have great books coming up. That's all we have left. Red Seas Under Red Skies is book 2 of The Lies of Locke Lamora, which is book 2 in my favorite series of all time. At the moment, it's unfinished. It could go downhill, but I hope it doesn't. Red Seas Under Red Skies is, such a great story. It's definitely kind of mixed. I think Lies of Locke Lamora is generally well received. Red Seas Under Red Skies, some people love it, some people don't. And then book 3 is a lot more mixed. A lot of people don't care for book 3 as much. But book 2 I thought was just as good as book 1. I enjoyed it so much. One of my favorite scenes in the whole trilogy is in Red Seas Under Red Skies. So, actually probably my favorite scene in the whole trilogy. Anyway, I love it. Mistborn is still one of my favorites. I think it would definitely, I don't think it would make my top 5 series list, but it would definitely make my top 10 favorite series list. So still a favorite. Mistborn is a great trilogy. It's a great entry point for Sanderson. If you're looking for a place to start with Sanderson, Mistborn is fantastic. Corey, I think, actually likes Mistborn better than Stormlight, so it's a great series. The Ocean at the End of the Lane, is it still a favorite? I still love it. I don't think so. I think I would put it under still great. There are other Gaiman books that I love more now, but it's still great. Salt to the Sea, I think I would put in still great. Again, historical fiction. I haven't read enough of Ruta Sepetys books. I have heard people say that Salt to the Sea, even though it's her most popular book, is one of her weakest. So I own 2 more of her books. I really should try more of her stuff, but it's still great. The 5th season, still great. The 5th season, actually, I really want to reread it because I loved book 1 so much that I was sure that this trilogy was going to make it to my top list. But I did think that books 2 and 3 were weaker, and it ended up not being one of my favorite series, but I'm still glad I read it. I still enjoyed myself. I don't know, I kind of want to try it again and give books 2 and 3 more of a chance. So that'll happen someday. Into the Drowning Deep. I'm gonna say still great. So Into the Drowning Deep is about mermaids. And I think that the beginning was weak and the ending was weak, but the middle was so good that it remained a favorite of mine for a long time. And with some distance, I still think it's fantastic. I still recommend it, but man, I just wish the ending was better. I don't even care that the beginning is so slow. I just wish the ending was better. But it's still great. The Outsiders, I think I would put that in still a favorite. The Outsiders is phenomenal. Yeah, I don't really have anything negative to say about it. Beartown, easily still a favorite. Every day the way home, every morning the way home gets longer and longer, still a favorite. Beauty and the Beast, still great. I don't think I'd put it in a favorite status anymore. The Name of the Wind, still great. Not a favorite anymore. Book 2 knocked this series down a peg for me. Have you ever had that before where you love a book so much that you're like, oh my goodness, this is one of my favorites, and then you read the sequel and then the sequel kind of messes up the first book a little bit for you? I don't hate book 2 in the Kingkiller Chronicles, but I didn't like it nearly as much as book 3, and then all the things about book 1 where I was thinking everything is intentional and everything is so well done and everything is so important to the plot, but there's a few things that I was just like, why are we doing this? What are we doing here? Anyway, it's still a great book. I still love The Name of the Wind, but if we ever do get book 3, I don't have as much faith in it after reading book 2 as I would have had after reading book 1. And Unkindness of Magicians is still great. It's not really a favorite of mine anymore because, again, the ending was a little bit weak, and I've just read fantasy series that I've loved so much more since then, but it's still a great book. I still recommend it. Rebecca is easily still a favorite. I absolutely love Daphne. Oh, I'm going to do this. Daphne du Maurier. Did I do it right this time? I absolutely love her books. I'm currently reading My Cousin Rachel. I think that she is easily becoming one of my favorite authors. Please, My Cousin Rachel, don't disappoint me. Lord of the Rings, easily still one of my favorites. It's in my top 2 list of favorite fantasy series. I absolutely adore The Lord of the Rings. Warbreaker. Ooh, is it still a favorite or is it just great? I've just had too much distance from it. I don't remember. I think I'm going to put it in still great because there are other books on this list that I've read a long time ago that have stuck with me better than Warbreaker did. So I'm putting Warbreaker under still great. Pride and Prejudice, still a favorite. Pet Sematary, ooh, is it still a favorite or is it still great? I think I'm going to put it under still great. I absolutely adore the exploration of grief that Pet Sematary took me through, especially shortly after I was dealing with grief. It was so helpful. It was wonderful. But I think it's just still great. Still highly recommend. Things My Son Needs to Know About the World. Still a favorite. Ooh, Tess of Duberville. I still probably don't say that right. I'm going to put that under still great. I want to reread it though. It's a tragedy and it's a great one. Count of Monte Cristo is easily still a favorite. Wow, this list is getting too big. It's not fitting on the screen anymore. The Count of Monte Cristo is easily still a favorite. It's, I recently talked about it in a video, 10 books you should read before you die. Actually, probably a few of these books were in there, but Count of Monte Cristo, incredible. Still favorite, easily. Best revenge story ever. Wuthering Heights, I think it's still a favorite. Yeah, it was also in that video, 10 books you should read. Yeah, I would say it's still a favorite. Yeah. I absolutely adore that book. I want to reread that one too. So there you go. There's my list of the last 4 years of favorites, not counting 2020, obviously, because 2020 isn't over yet. But 2016 through 2019, those are some of my favorite books. And, basically everything from 18 and 19, they're just still wonderful. And then 17 and 16, it's a little bit more diluted. My tastes have changed quite a bit. But even the books that I used to love that I don't love anymore, I still think that they're solid books, mostly. I still think that they're solid books, they just aren't really for me anymore. So there you go. Those are, let me quit this screen recording. So there you go. Those are my feelings about the books that I once loved. Still, a lot of them, the most recent ones, I recommend a lot. Be sure to chat with me more about this in the comments. I post videos every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.